Good day, good people, and welcome to Revolutionary Belovedness. I'm Robert Farrell, and whether you are here for the live session or you're watching the recording, thank you so much for being part of this tiny community. My apologies for not having these sessions the last couple of weeks between family matters and Mother's Day, and it's just how timing works out on some Sundays. But we are here now. Tonight we are going to explore the topic of love as disciplined commitment rather than sentiment. And before we get into our reflection, let's take a moment to find a comfortable position and allow the body to settle. Let the feet rest on the floor. Let the hands rest open in your lap or on your thighs. Take a deep breath, enough to fill the chest and feel the body rise. Then release it slowly and fully. Take another breath and feel the breath as an act of choosing. You are here. You have arrived. Whatever you've carried to this threshold, you are now present. Breathing in and inwardly speak these words, I am here. And breathe out, I am ready to labor. Rest there for just a moment. Friends, the session ahead will ask something of you. Not a grand performance of feeling, but a quiet, honest presence to the question, where am I being called to show up, even when it costs something? You are invited to stay with that question, to let it settle into the body like warmth. And you may sit with your eyes closed or your eyes open as we carry that question forward. Friends, love, when it is genuine and mature, is far less comfortable than it looks from the outside. The popular imagination tends to picture love as a feeling that arrives, warm and sustaining, and carries people forward with its own momentum. What the contemplative tradition has always known, and what a serious engagement with the work of justice confirms again and again, is that love of this enduring kind is something altogether different. Love is a discipline. Love is a direction of the will. Love is the repeated, often costly choosing to show up for another, for a community, for a world, even when every circumstance conspires to make that showing up feel impossible. Thomas Aquinas defined love as willing the good of another, not feeling warmly toward another, not preferring another's company, but willing their good. That small distinction carries enormous weight. To will something is an act, a commitment that exists prior to and independent of feeling. It means that love, understood this way, is available even on the days when warmth has receded, when exhaustion has arrived, when the face before us is difficult to meet. Wayne Teasdale understood this same truth when he placed solidarity with all living beings at the heart of a universal spirituality. That solidarity is not the product of a single inspired moment. It is a practiced daily, returned to, renewed, formed through consistency across time. Martin Luther King Jr. defined love as understanding and creative redemptive goodwill for all that seeks nothing in return. Thus, love is the divine operating in the human heart. And this understanding presses directly against the version of love that sentiment offers. Sentiment is real, and it is a gift when it comes. The warmth of feeling connected, the pleasure of shared values, the ease of loving those who are already familiar and beloved, all of this belongs to the human experience of love. The difficulty is that sentiment rises and falls with circumstance. It is conditioned by whether things feel hopeful or defeating, by whether the people around us are behaving in ways that invite affection or in ways that repel it. When the conditions change, sentiment changes with them. Disciplined love does not. Disciplined love is oriented by something deeper than the emotional weather of any given moment. Something more like a vow, a practice, a way of being that has been shaped over time into the grain of who a person is. Yes, sentiment can open the door to love. It cannot hold love in place across the long seasons when conditions are hard, when the relationship requires sacrifice, when justice work demands, when it demands presence through years of discouragement. For that, something more durable is needed. Friends, the question this raises is one that every serious spiritual practitioner eventually faces. What do we do when love requires more than we feel capable of giving? What holds us in commitment when circumstances make warmth impossible? When the labor of justice drags on across years with no visible outcome, when the people or community before us is one we find genuinely difficult to love. Sentiment offers no reliable answer here. The contemplative tradition does. It says that love as a practice is built through the same discipline as any other practice. It is built through daily return, through honest self-examination, through the cultivation of an interior life large enough to hold the full weight of what love sometimes asks. Richard Rohr has written that transformation happens almost entirely through great suffering and great love, two experiences that sentiment on its own cannot navigate. The spiritual path is not a path away from these demands. It is a path into the kind of love that can meet them. Solidarity, as the contemplative tradition understands it, is love given structural form. It is the choice to enter the situation of another so fully that their struggle becomes, in some real sense, your own, as practiced presence, as the decision renewed day after day to remain in the labor of the world rather than retreat into the comfort of private peace. This solidarity is love made visible in choices, in relationships, in the repeated decision to show up even when showing up is inconvenient, even when it is costly, even when no one outside the immediate circle will know it happened. Grace Lee Boggs expressed this with characteristic clarity when she said the work of revolution is to advance the humanity of the human race, not simply to defeat what is unjust, but to enlarge what is human in us all. That enlargement is available only through love that has been disciplined past sentiment into something that holds even when holding is costly. Now, Valerie Kaur speaks of a voice she calls the wise woman. It's an interior presence that does not give all the answers, but knows what the present moment requires. She knows when to breathe and when to push, when to listen and when to grieve, when to fight and when to stay. That inner knowing is precisely the compass that disciplined love follows. And its development is not accidental. It grows through contemplative spiritual practice, through the kind of daily apprenticeship that Teasdale described as essential to mature spiritual life. The wise woman is formed through consistency, through the regular act of returning to silence and prayer and honest self-examination, so that when the fierce moments come, the wisdom is already present, already formed, already available. Friends, to tend the interior life is therefore not a retreat from the demands of love. It is the very ground on which disciplined love becomes possible and sustainable across time. Boggs, whose life of activism and writing spanned a full century, understood that this interior formation and the exterior work of justice belong together. As I often say, you cannot give what you do not have. The cultivation of inner depth that Kaur points toward and the work of growing one's soul that Boggs called essential are the same movement approached from different directions. Boggs believed that genuine transformation requires people to deepen as human beings, to develop a philosophical and spiritual interiority large enough to hold the complexity of the world. And she saw clearly that the person who learns to stay present with their own pain develops the capacity to stay present with the pain of others. And that is precisely this capacity for sustained presence that makes love more than sentiment. Valerie Kaur's image of transition illuminates what that cost can look like at its most acute. The final stage of birthing labor is called transition because it is the most intense and demanding passage. The place where every sensation in the body says the labor cannot continue, and where continuing is, in fact, what love requires. She asked whether our communities and our nation might be in exactly that stage, the place that feels like dying and is in truth the threshold closest to new life. This image serves the deeper theme, and it serves it well precisely because the transition cannot be navigated by sentiment. Only disciplined love, love that has been formed through practice and sustained by interior wisdom, as well as the accompaniment of community, can hold its ground at that threshold. You see, friends, silence is not an absence of support. The interior life, tended through daily practice, becomes a dwelling place where that wisdom can be heard. Stillness is not passivity. It is the ground from which disciplined love continues to choose. The wisdom to stay present, to breathe through the impulse to flee, to push through resistance, to hold steady in the costly and beautiful work of showing up. This is what contemplative practice forms in us over time, and what love, understood as commitment, calls us to bring into the world day after day. Every tradition that has taken love seriously has understood this. The path of love is not the path of least resistance. It is the path of deepest formation, and it yields in the end a person capable of giving what the world needs most. So, dear ones, may the depth of your commitment, practiced in the ordinary moments of each day, become itself a form of new life. May the wise woman within speak clearly in the seasons that ask the most of you. And may love, chosen again and again beyond the reach of sentiment, carry you and all whose lives you touch toward the fullness for which we are made. Find your breath again. Breathe in and breathe out as we enter into our time of practice. Let us do as we say. So take a moment to arrive. And if you haven't and it feels comfortable, allow your eyes to close. Or maybe just let your gaze soften toward the floor in front of you. Feel the weight of your body in your seat. The quiet solidity of what holds you. Love is a commitment. Love is a practiced way of showing up, especially when showing up is costly. Begin with the breath. Draw one full breath in through the nose and let it travel down through the chest and expand in the belly, and hold it gently at the top. Then release it slowly all the way out. Let the exhale carry away any tightness held in any part of the body. Shoulders draw. Take another breath. And as you breathe in, feel the breath as a small act of choosing. You are here. You chose to arrive. Let that simple fact settle into the body as something real. Good. Now bring your awareness gently to the heart, not as a concept, but as a place in the body. Notice its texture right now. Notice, is there warmth present or something heavier? An ache, a tenderness, a guardedness. Simply stay with whatever is there. The body knows what the mind sometimes works to avoid. Rest in that knowing for a moment. Good. From this place, let a question move through you slowly. Where in my life is love asking me to show up in a way that costs something? And let that question settle without rushing toward an answer. It may land in a relationship that has grown difficult or distant. It may land in a commitment that no longer feels easy or rewarding. It may land in the wider world, in some place of suffering or injustice you have been witnessing and are not sure how to meet. Wherever it lands, let it rest there. Feel where in the body that recognition lives. Does it gather in the chest, in the throat? Wherever it is, breathe into that place. Not to resolve anything, simply to be present to it. Now, sense the texture of what love is asking. Is it heavy like stone? Is it warm like held hands? Does it feel like an open field or a narrow passage? Allow your body to answer before the mind explains. Go a little deeper. What color, if any, does this calling have? What quality of light surrounds it? And notice what has kept you or keeps you moving toward it even so. Explore for a moment what is the ground beneath this commitment when feeling is absent. It may be a value so deep it has become part of who you are. It may be the memory of someone who showed you what it looks like to stay. It may be something quieter still, a current beneath the surface that has carried you forward through seasons when nothing felt possible. Let that be felt in the body as steadiness, as weight, as warmth. This is the root of disciplined love. This is what sustains the choosing. We're going to move into the silence for a few minutes to rest there. Breathe in the recognition that love practiced this way forms you over time. Breathe out any demand that it feel easier than it does. Into the silence, breathing in, I choose to stay. Breathing out, love is enough. Breathing in, I choose to stay. Breathing out, love is enough. Gently begin to return, become aware of the room around you, the sounds, and the sensation of your body held by what is beneath you. Let your fingers move softly. And take one more full breath and release it slowly. When you are ready, open your eyes with care. Whatever arose in this time, carry it not as a burden but as a companion. May the commitment you hold be met with the grace it requires. Breathing in, I choose to stay. Breathing out, love is enough. Gently begin to return. Become aware of the room and the sounds around you. The sensation of your body being held by what is beneath you. Let your fingers move softly. Take one more full breath and release it slowly. When you are ready, open your eyes with care. Whatever arose in this time, carry it not as a burden, but as a companion. May the commitment you hold be met with the grace it requires. May you know in the body, and not only in the mind, that love chosen again and again, beyond sentiment, beyond ease, is among the most sacred acts available to a human life. Friends, for the sake of deepening the dialogue, I am going to share in the recorded section of the Mighty Network 4 dialogue questions for you to spend time with, or maybe even you want to share your comments on the Mighty Network and let those enter into dialogue with other participants. I'm going to share them here. If you have any response to any of these now, you can do that. Of course, you can expand those comments later. First, let's take a look at when love is understood as disciplined commitment. It asks us to show up even when warmth and inspiration are absent. So can you name a relationship, a calling, or a form of service where you have experienced this kind of love? Love sustained by choosing rather than by feeling? And what did that choosing feel like in the body? And what made it possible to continue? Next, sentiment responds to circumstance. It rises when conditions are favorable and recedes when they're not. Disciplined love, by contrast, is formed through practice over time. So the question here is, what daily or regular practices, they can be contemplative, relational, or otherwise, have helped you develop the interior depth that allows love to hold steady when conditions are hard? We heard in the reflection that Thomas Aquinas defined love as willing the good of another, an act of the will rather than a state or feeling. And Wayne Teasdale placed solidarity with all living beings at the heart of mature spirituality, describing it as something practiced and renewed daily. Where do you see these understandings alive in your own experience of love? Where do you find them most challenging to embody? And next, disciplined love often requires us to remain present to someone or to something we find genuinely difficult. It can be an opponent, a community in conflict, or a world that feels overwhelming. What inner resources do you draw on in those moments? And how does your contemplative or spiritual practice shape the quality of love you are able to bring when the cost is highest? So those questions are there in the chat for you to ponder. They will be on the Mighty Network for you to refer back to and approach them however you like, just to sit and think about them, or to journal, or maybe to comment in the Mighty Network. The recording will be available both on Mighty Network and YouTube once it is edited. And again, whether you were here for the live session or you're watching the recording, thank you so much for continuing to be part of Contemplative Inner Being. And I hope to see you again next Sunday. Blessings to all. Good night for now.